Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. Today's video is an album review on Propaganda's 1985 albums, A Secret Wish. First off, I wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Hopefully this year is winding down good for you and you guys are, y'all are having a good time with your family and spending good time with your family. Um, it's been a tough year for me personally. I lost my father earlier this year, and it's been kind of up and down. And but I have a lot of great memories with my dad, and those are the things that kind of get you through. So if you guys you aren't spending time with your family, or you are spending time with your family, it's super important because you never know when they might be gone, and all you'll have is your memories and the rest of your family to share it with. So just wanted to let you guys know, or remind you to spend a lot of time with your family because it's really important. So yeah, I think the first time I got a chance to hear Propaganda was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I was recommended this particular album, and then I ended up getting a copy after I heard the first track, which ended up being my favorite track, which is "The Murder of Love," which was a single. And as soon as I heard that, I bought the album without even hearing the rest of the album. Because if you know me, I always like to. I don't mind taking a chance and purchasing music in hopes of hearing it for the first time in full. In the comfort of my own house and on my stereo that I know well, and kind of give it the proper respect and first play that it deserves, and hoping to make it a special opportunity versus just playing it on YouTube, or playing it on my headphones or something like that. I get a big reward out of playing music in the right atmosphere for the first time, and giving the music my full attention. And I did that with this album when I first got it, like 4 or 5 years ago. And it's been a few years since I've heard it, but it's it's good to go back to it and review it. It kind of brought some things maybe to light that I hadn't really thought about before. And maybe that's the thing about critiquing any kind of album is you think a little bit more in depth about the release and different aspects of the release, and really try to, I wouldn't say criticize it or anything like that, but just really kind of just review it and think of it in a critical way. There's 9 tracks on this album, and that's another thing that fascinates me. Is music before the Berlin Wall came down in 1989. There's some documentaries that kind of touch on that, like if you guys know the Trezor Club, or maybe The Sound of Berlin. Maybe both those documentaries kind of touched on it. But if you put yourself in the mindset of before the Berlin Wall came down, you have very communist East Germany, and then you have the very open West Germany, and West Germany is close to Netherlands and Belgium and things like that, and even France and stuff like that, and so the differences of the music scenes in the 80s are just like, it's really kind of it's interesting, and it's also it's just really interesting. Like in East Germany, it was very very constricted on what you could hear and what they would let you play, and what was played on the radio, and what you could probably buy in stores. I'm sure if I have a reader from Germany who was a record collector in the 80s could tell me even much better than I could ever hope to say. But I think it's fascinating, that the differences of music kind of came out of both, and you can kind of see the impact of a communist area when it comes to like suppressing the arts like music, and then you have Berlin and West Germany, and how different the music style was. I mean, out of Germany came some great industrial and techno and synth pop like Propaganda and stuff like that, and in East Germany in the late 80s, they were still playing like ABBA and probably really popular stuff, and it was like a whole different world, and you went to the clubs out there, and it was just like you had the pre-rave, you know, crazy atmosphere of West Germany, and then you had East Germany where there's still disco dancing and playing like really popular music and stuff like that. And I always found that really interesting, and every time I hear a band from the '80s in Germany, I think of that, and this is a great example um, of the differences. And I really got to hand it to these guys and girls for the sound that they made in 1985 in Germany, even though it was on the more open side. Like it's generally in sometimes. I mean, I wouldn't say all the time, but sometimes like German music can be a little bit corny, a little bit cheesy, especially when it comes to the popular stuff, like what was popular on the radio and stuff like that, like the real popular stuff. Like if you go to like, I've seen some videos of like what was the top 10 German songs in 1982 or 1983, and you'll see all kinds of different stuff from like Falco to stuff that I've never even heard of, and you're just like, what is this? It's like some kind of like uh, hump, Humperdinck, Engelbert Humperdinck sort of folk music, and then there's some like there's not even really like rock music. It's really like there's really some strange like adult music, and then there's like some really like over the top, really poppy stuff that's kind of really like super cheesy. And then you think of something like Nina Luft Balloons, which is a good song. It's catchy, but it's like that was a year before this album came out. But it's just very up and down, and Germany was such an interesting country in the '80s when it comes to dance music, and I really feel like a lot of my favorite electronic music comes from Germany, from techno and glitch and minimalism and dub techno and the Cologne scene and of course the Frankfurt trance scene, Berlin. Through from the early '90s on through the Cologne sound, late '90s, and minimal techno and gas and Milli Plateau and but even the trance of MFS and all those great German labels into the more techno labels like Kanzleramt and you know, geez, there's so many. I don't know which ones I could say. Well, even just Trezor and stuff like that. But there were so many like techno labels through the '90s, and through the 2000s that I was a huge, especially in the course of techno. Like I've always been a huge fan of German techno. But then you even take it back to like Kraftwerk and stuff. They're just a whole decades and decades of great electronic music coming out from Germany, and this was a great find for me. I don't know. I mean, I definitely have a few bands from Germany that I like. I think Camouflage is from Germany. There's some other like and one. There's some other like German bands that sort of do like synth pop and stuff like that. But back in 1985, I was really impressed by this album. How it had a good balance of pop, but never like over the top, and in any kind of cheesy way. In fact, there's actually a little bit of industrial in here, a little bit of sort of like cinematic kind of soundtrack music on here. I mean, just all kinds of good stuff on here. My favorite tracks on here are "Murder of Love," without a doubt, is my favorite track. It's the reason why I bought the album. But I really do like the first track too, "Dream Within a Dream," and also a Duel as well. And then I think the album ends on a good note in "The Chase" and "The Last Word," "Strength to a Dream." All good songs. Individually, like when I look at the songs "Dream Within a Dream," I really like the instrumental opener. It's kind of like an 8-9 minute track, nice keyboard intro, nice layering of the keyboards. They also have a good wide range of like instrumentations, like from the bass to the horns to the keyboards. I think there's a saxophone on one song. It's just they're it sounds like they're a good band, but they're actually a synth band that is a true band. You know what I mean? There's and then they have I guess they have two singers, right? So just a wide range of good sounds on this album. Dream Within a Dream, I gave 3.5 stars. But yeah, just dramatic kind of synth pop. Almost sounds like a theatrical play, and that's what I get from the one girl's voice. She has a very I wouldn't say opera voice, but it is kind of in the higher realm. But it's a great voice for kind of new wave and a little bit of um, I wouldn't say like if Enya did synth pop, she would sound like this, but she does kind of have that kind of breathy, airy voice where she, if she wanted to, she could sort of sing a little bit like Enya in that range. You know, not as high as that, but she has a really kind of airy, but it has a little bit of like an ominous sound in it too, and it goes great with the keyboards and the darker sound of some of these songs. But yeah, Dream Within a Dream, 3.5 stars. The Murder of Love, I gave 4 stars. I mean, the funky bass. I think it's one of those basses where it's not like a full bass, but it's kind of got just the body of it is very small. It's one of those like electric basses, but it's really good keyboards on here. The chorus is amazing. Keyboards are great. I love how everything fades and then the keyboard melody sort of stays at the end. It's just a really catchy song. Jewel is a good song too. 2.5 stars. The chorus kind of grows on you. Duel is I think is another great single. I'm pretty sure it was a single. Also, P Machinery was a single. But Duel, 3.5 stars. One of my favorites on the album. Nice beat, good melodic moments. It's kind of like a flute thing going on, which is kind of cool. It stays in the sweet spot, which I like, and it's got really good atmosphere in it too. So 3.5 stars, really good track. P Machinery was okay. I mean, I gave it 2 stars. It's a good track, just not to the levels that the first four songs are for me. Sorry for Laughing's my least favorite song on the album. It's a little bit more industrial, darker, but just doesn't pan out for me. 1 star. Track number 7, Dr. Mabuse. I think there was also a video for this as well, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. I was watching the videos while I was doing this review too, and so I thought there was a video on this, but maybe not. But a pretty good song, 2.25 stars. And then it ends on a really solid notes with the chase. It has a really cool beat, nice piano, nice atmosphere as well. 3.25 stars. And then 3 stars for the last song, just a really good melodic ending. When I look at the my overall thoughts on the album and the band, the one singer is very unique. The other girl is a little bit a little deeper voice. They're never like over the top. They're dramatic, but they're never like over the top to where it just gets a little cheesy. And I really appreciate that. That's in my wheelhouse. I really like I tend to like the darker stuff. I tend to like the more eerie stuff. I tend to like the more deeper stuff. I like my fair share of pop music too, and I certainly like a lot of cheesy music. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes on darker synth pop and new wave and stuff, I like it to be a little bit on the more just a deeper level, and that's why I like Depeche Mode way more than like Duran Duran or something like that. Just like it's just I find for a more interesting music, lyrics, imagery, everything. It's just a lot. I'd rather be engrossed by Violator than engrossed by something like Rio by Duran Duran. You know what I mean? You see the difference, right? There's good changes through the songs too, like in every song and all the songs. There's a lot of good changes, which definitely puts it in the synth pop range, and kind of takes it out of New Romantic. I do really feel like she has a great voice for New Romantic, and they probably grew up through that. I'm imagining. They also have some good keyboards and good layering as well, so I would imagine they're also again sort of coming from a deeper love of darker electronic music, than really the poppy stuff. There's some good bass lines in here. There's sort of a touch of a Tallow House sort of sound in here too, which maybe the new wave sort of going more poppy in here, but it does sort of sound like it has a little bit of a Tallow House, a Tallow disco sound in here. Um, a lot of German music can be a little too straightforward, even poppy or one note, but Propaganda again is really well balanced. It's almost like a synth pop version of Swing Out Sister or a synth pop version of Shakespeare's Sister. It kind of reminds me of that. I thought it was strange when I was thinking of comparisons because of the girl's really strong, unique voice, but then they're also sort of synth pop and a little bit on the darker side, but not fully. And I thought of Swing Out Sister and Shakespeare's Sister, and they both have sister in the name. I thought that was a little fun, a little strange. But when I think of the overall opportunities of the album, anything bad, I really can't think of anything. I mean, there's 9 songs. There's one okay song in there, but the rest is good, or better. So I think it's a really strong album. I gave it a 67 out of 100. 25 stars when I add up the stars divided by 9 tracks is a 2.77. So I think that correlated to the album in my checks and balances of rating each song and then comparing it to an overall album score. 67 out of 100, really strong album. Yeah, I'll have to check out some of the. I think they have maybe 2 other albums in the 80s. I'm not sure if. I thought they came back and did some shows again, but I'm not sure if they did an album. I'll have to look at their. I'll have to look at their discography a little bit more and see if there's anything else. Because it was. I've always liked this album from. Again, I've only heard it a couple of years ago, but now kind of going back to it, and again, I'm kind of curious to see how they kind of evolved. I don't have super high hopes that there could be anything better than this album. There's something sweet about 1985 and electronic music, and it's a little bit more analog with the keyboards and stuff like that. And if it's into the 80s, it could get a little bit more digital sounding and maybe not the ideal keyboards that I would want to hear in my synth pop. But yeah, I'm curious to check them out and see if there's some other songs that I like by them. But overall, good album, 67 out of 100. I'm curious if you have a favorite, all-time 3 favorite Propaganda songs, or is there an album of theirs I should review that's in the 80s that you think is perhaps even better than this? All right, thanks for your time.